I am Karen M. Kimmerite, a commissioner on the North Carolina Utilities Commission. And with me tonight are Chair Charlotte Mitchell and Commissioner Kimberly W. Duffley. I now call for hearing docket number E-7, sub 1297, in the matter of application of Duke Energy Carolinas LLC for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to construct an 80-megawatt natural gas-fired combustion turbine, or CT, electric generating facility in Catawba County, North Carolina.
Commissioner Kimmerite, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think that our court reporter is having an issue hearing. And so we need to make sure we can get her connected to audio so that she can transcribe the hearing. John, can you help Kayleen get connected, please?
Another tab.
We can hear you, Kim Mitchell.
Go to your audio.
Audio check 1 2 3. Audio check 1 2 3. All right.
Okay, good. I'm getting.
Let me know when you're ready.
Ready.
Okay, so let's start again to make sure that the record is clear. Good evening. Let us come to order and go on the record. I am Karen M. Kimmerite, a commissioner on the North Carolina Utilities Commission, and with me tonight are Chair Charlotte Mitchell and Kimberly W. Duffley. I now call for hearing docket number E-7, sub 1297, in the matter of application of Duke Energy Carolinas LLC for a certificate of public convenience and necessity to construct an 850-megawatt natural gas-fired combustion turbine, or CT, electric generating facility in Catawba County, North Carolina. Before we proceed further, and as required by the State Government Ethics Act, I remind members of the Commission of our duty to avoid conflicts of interest and inquire at this time as to whether any commissioner has any known conflict of interest with respect to this docket. Let the record reflect that no such conflicts were identified. On March 14, 2024, Duke Energy Carolinas LLC, or DEC, filed with the Commission an application pursuant to North Carolina General Statute sections 62-82, 62-110.1, 62-110.9, and Commission Rule R8-61B for a Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity, or CPCN, to construct and operate 2 advanced class simple cycle gas combustion turbine units that will be approximately 425 megawatts each, in order to generate electricity at the site of its existing Marshall Steam Station in Catawba County, North Carolina. In support of the application, DEC filed 4 exhibits and the direct testimony of 2 witnesses, portions of which are confidential. The application explains that the 2 CT units will be constructed on DEC-owned land at the Marshall Steam Station site, which currently consists of 4 coal-fired electric generating units. The application provides that the 2 CT units are estimated to have a combined total winter capacity of 850 megawatts, which will facilitate the permanent retirement of 2 of the coal-fired generating units at the Marshall site. The application provides further that the new CT units have been designed to use the existing transmission infrastructure that coal-fired units 1 and 2 are currently utilizing. The application explains that the interconnection study processes undertaken for the new CT units indicate that only minimal transmission network upgrades will be necessary to support the 2 new CT units. The application provides that the CT units will rely on natural gas as fuel supply and will be capable of utilizing ultra-low sulfur diesel as backup fuel. The application explains that DEC will take advantage of existing natural gas transmission capacity for the delivery of fuel to the Marshall site. Though DEC has proposed to construct a compressor station at the Marshall site to ensure that natural gas is delivered to the new units at sufficient pressure. The testimony accompanying the application discusses DEC's need for and cost of the facility. On April 10, 2024, the Commission issued an order scheduling hearings, establishing procedural and filing requirements, and requiring public notice. The scheduling order scheduled 1 public witness hearing to be held on June 5, 2024 in Catawba County, as well as the 2nd public witness hearing to be held remotely by way of WebEx tonight on June 6, 2024, beginning at 6:30 p.m. The scheduling order also scheduled an expert witness hearing to begin immediately following the hearing in docket number E-100 sub 190, which is scheduled to begin at 2:00 p.m. on Monday, July 22, 2024. If the expert witness hearing on the application has not concluded by August 9, 2024, the hearing will resume at 2:00 p.m. on Tuesday, September 3, 2024, continuing as necessary until conclusion. On April 12, 2024, DEC filed a request to amend the public notice mailing date, which was granted by Commission order on April 15, 2024. On May 31, 2024, DEC filed its affidavits of publication, confirming that public notice was provided in accordance with the requirements of the scheduling order, as amended by the April 15, 2024 order. The following parties have petitioned to and been allowed to intervene in this proceeding: Carolina Industrial Group for Fair Utility Rates 3, Carolina Utility Customers Association, Inc., Environmental Defense Fund, and the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy, Sierra Club, and Natural Resources Defense Council, collectively referred to as SACE et al. The public staff, which represents the using and consuming public, has been made a party to this proceeding in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 62-15D. The public staff represents you, the using and consuming public. In addition, the public staff is conducting an independent investigation of the application and will file its testimony setting forth its recommendations at the Commission on June 20, 2024. So that brings us to this evening. I now call upon counsel for the parties to introduce themselves for purposes of the record, beginning with the applicant.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jason Higginbotham, appearing on behalf of Duke Energy Carolinas.
Good evening.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tom Felling with the public staff, appearing on behalf of the using and consuming public.
Good evening. So the purpose of tonight's hearing is to hear from DEC's customers regarding their positions or concerns about the pending application. We appreciate you being here to voice your views on this matter, and we welcome your testimony and want to hear from you. In order to facilitate this remote hearing, we will use the following procedures. Number 1, in conducting this hearing, the Commission functions in a judicial capacity. We largely follow the North Carolina Rules of Civil Procedure and Rules of Evidence. Because the Commission is functioning as a court, I cannot respond to your questions. Rather, we are here to receive evidence from you in the form of your testimony. In addition, for these reasons, if you choose to testify tonight, you will be asked to affirm the truthfulness of your testimony. Number 2, witnesses will appear by audio connection only. The commission and attorneys will be appearing by video and audio connection. Any witnesses that wish to view a live video of the proceeding may access it on a computer via YouTube, which is linked from the commission's home webpage. However, please be sure to mute your computer when you are called to testify to avoid any feedback. This hearing is being transcribed by a court reporter, and it is critical that we limit all interference with her ability to hear me and those who testify. Number 3, witnesses will be called on to testify in the order in which you have called in. When it is your turn to speak, the WebEx administrator will send you a request to unmute. You will hear the message, which will state you are being asked to unmute yourself. To unmute, press number 6. It is important that you listen for this message. Once you unmute yourself, please state your name to signify that you are unmuted. At that time, I will ask you to provide an affirmation as to the truthfulness of your testimony. Once you have provided the affirmation, the attorney for the public staff will ask you a series of questions, and then you will be allowed to testify. Number 5, counsel for any party may ask questions of the witnesses tonight. In addition, the commissioners will have an opportunity to ask questions. This means that if you provide testimony, you may be asked questions by the attorneys or by the commissioners. However, as a reminder, the commissioners and the attorneys for the parties are not allowed to respond to your questions during this hearing. And also importantly, each witness will be allowed 3 minutes to provide testimony. I will be timing the testimony, and I will let you know when the 3-minute time limit has ended, and I will ask you at that time to complete your testimony. So with that, we are ready to begin. And Mr. McCoy, if you can please unmute the first witness.
This is Matt Musson.
Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Mr. Musson, would you please state your name and spell your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Matt Musson, M-U-S-S-O-N.
And would you please provide your address and indicate who your electric service provider is?
3910 Kingsgate Place, Charlotte, North Carolina. I am a Duke Energy customer.
Thank you so much. Please begin with your statement.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. I am speaking in favor of this plant. I believe it is a plant that our North Carolina grid needs to ensure that we have affordable and reliable power. What do Duke Energy customers want for our energy supplies? We want affordable, reliable, and clean. Unfortunately, there's no power option on the table today that gets an A+ for all 3 criteria, so we have to pick 2. Fossil fuels are reliable and affordable. Solar and wind are affordable and clean, but they are not reliable. Well, what do customers like me want? We want to be able to heat our homes in the winter. We want to be able to cool our homes in the summer. We want to be able to take our parents to the hospital to get open heart surgery and not be told, well, the operating suite is closed today because there's not enough power because it's raining. This is a 24-hour-a-day plant. It's affordable. It's reliable. The plant gets an A+ in both categories. And the plant's not perfectly clean, but it's not dirty either. It's significantly cleaner than coal and much cleaner than fuel oil. Much cleaner than fuel oil. It is the cleanest readily available baseline power choice by far. Not an A+, but it's certainly a solid C on being clean. Now, some people will tell you we should build solar farms because solar panels are falling in price and the sun shines for free. But they forget that a solar farm would require a huge contiguous plot here of land in the Charlotte area, and the rising price of land in Charlotte would negate the falling price of solar panels. But suppose you built an 840 megawatt solar farm, then you'd get 840 megawatts of energy from 10 a.m. in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, 6 hours a day. 6 hours a day at the rated level. And that's a little longer in the summer, a little shorter in the winter. But notice it doesn't cover the peak demand hours of the early morning or the peak demand hours of the early evening. But some will still say, build it anyway. We've got to reduce our emissions. We can turn off our plant 6 hours a day, but if we build it, we can turn it off at 10 a.m. in the morning, but we'll have to start turning our plants back on at 1 in the afternoon. We won't save 6 hours. We won't save 25%. We'd save 12.5%. But Plants are like cars. They pollute more when you turn them on and turn them off. So you wouldn't really save 3 hours. You'd maybe save an hour and a half, maybe 6% on your emissions if you built this entire process as a solar farm. So unfortunately, this is Charlotte, North Carolina, too. We have 240 overcast days a year in Charlotte. 240 overcast days a year. We're not the sunny solar belt. We're the overcast belt of the southern Atlantic states. This is not solar territory. So in summation, this natural gas is not perfect, but it will produce more affordable, more reliable, and cleaner energy than any other baseline option on the table. And I urge you to support this natural gas plant to ensure that North Carolinians have the electricity, the affordable electricity that's essential to modern living. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Musson. Are there any questions from Duke?
No questions.
Any questions from the public staff?
Thank you. No questions.
Any questions from the commissioners? Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Musson. You are excused.
Thank you.
Mr. McCoy, are you allowing the next witness in?
They are unmuted.
This is James Briggs.
Mr. Briggs, do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Could you please state your name and spell it for the court reporter?
James Briggs, B-R-I-G-G-S.
Thank you, Mr. Briggs. And would you please provide your address and indicate who your electric service provider is?
The address is 1522 Horn Creek Drive in Durham, North Carolina. And my service provider is Duke Energy. We've been a customer since 2015.
All right, Mr. Briggs, please provide your statement.
A little background, I'm an electrical engineer, worked for over 40 years for Eastman Kodak. I'm retired now, but I come from a family of power-oriented people. My father worked on nuclear waste for Westinghouse for 10 years, and my brother generated hydropower in Niagara Falls with the New York Power Authority. I'm speaking in favor of the project, and I want to explain reasons why natural gas generation is a good backup for wind and solar power. The first reason is flexibility and reliability. Natural gas power plants, especially gas turbines, can ramp up and down quickly to fill the gaps when wind and solar fluctuate due to changes in weather conditions. This load-following ability helps maintain grid stability and reliability. Solar power drops off at night, while wind speeds are slower during the daylight hours and in summer months. This intermittency requires the grid to have sufficient power generation backup to maintain round-the-clock reliability while meeting load demands. Cost-effectiveness. Compared to other backup options like long-duration energy storage, natural gas generation is currently the most competitive way to provide reliable and dispatchable power to complement renewable energy. Number 3, it leverages existing infrastructure. In the case of the Duke Energy Marshall Steam Station, the existing natural gas pipeline network requires only minimal upgrades in terms of compressors, and similarly, the existing 230 kilovolt transmission line can be used with small upgrades to the switchyard. Number 4, emissions reduction. Natural gas plants emit 50 to 60% less carbon dioxide than coal plants, making natural gas a cleaner bridge fuel during the transition to a fully renewable energy system. Burning natural gas for energy results in fewer emissions of nearly all types of air pollutants and carbon dioxide emissions than burning coal or petroleum products to produce an equal amount of energy. The source of these findings are listed in the consumer statement of position filed with the commission on May 31st, in terms of a PowerPoint presentation, I have the following 5 additional recommendations for the commission. Number 1, require faster installation of grid-scale battery energy storage systems for wind and solar power. Number 2, expand these in terms of both power capacity, megawatts, and duration, megawatt hours. Number 3, extend the life or expand existing nuclear power plants. Number 4, build additional nuclear power plant sites. And number 5, have Duke increase participation in U.S. energy research projects, especially those overseen by the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. And that concludes my testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Briggs. Are there any questions from Duke?
No questions. Thank you.
Any questions from the public staff?
No questions.
Any questions from the commissioners? Mr. Briggs, thank you for your testimony. You may be excused. And Mr. McCoy, you may unmute the next witness.
Marina Gomez.
Ms. Gomez, do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Would you please restate your name and spell it for the court reporter?
Marina, I'll state my whole name. Marina Rebollar de Gomez. First name Marina, last name Rebollar, space DE, space GOMEZ.
Thank you for that. And will you please provide your address and also let us know who your electric service provider is?
2221 Chautauqua, that's CHAUTAUQUA Avenue in Durham, North Carolina, 27707. And my energy provider is Duke Energy.
Thank you so much. You can proceed with your statement.
While my preceding previous witnesses provided very good information, and that's a lot of good points to be for this program. However, I'm against it. I do remember that we were able to see on the news that this was something that had been projected as far as Duke Energy providing energy through gas. I don't have all of that great information that the other two had. However, we were not given the opportunity to opt in for paying for this purpose or procedural, however we want to call it. Sorry, I'm not that eloquent. However, we were not given that opportunity, and those of us that don't have great earnings to be able to pay high bills, we were hit with those high bills. And when we called Duke Energy to get explanation on how this was being paid or how this was being charged, we got some brief breakdown that didn't make sense. So I'm just asking that you consider the public that is having to pay for this great infrastructure that Duke Energy wants to construct for long time affordability. Right now, it's not affordable for those of us that don't make hundreds and thousands of dollars, and it's coming out of our pocket, and I don't see how that's fair for us to pay for something that we didn't ask for. That's my testimony.
Thank you for your testimony, Ms. Gomez. Are there any questions for Ms. Gomez from Duke?
No questions.
From the public staff?
Thank you. No questions.
And from the commissioners? Okay. Ms. Gomez, thank you for coming and thank you for your testimony, and you may be excused.
Thank you.
And Mr. McCoy, you may unmute the next witness.
Commissioner, that is all the callers. No one's left.
Those are the only people who have called in?
Yes, Commissioner. Only 3.
Okay, since we have heard from all of the witnesses, are there any final matters that need to be addressed before the hearing is concluded? Okay, hearing none.
The public staff.
Okay. And from Duke?
Nothing here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hearing none, this brings us to the conclusion of the hearing, and the hearing is now adjourned. Thank you.